Hey everyone, I'm Jesse from The Movement Athlete. Welcome back to another video on planches. We'll be talking about the mobility necessary for training the planches. And the most important area that needs mobility and preparation are going to be the wrists for the planches. Aside from that, it's really the progressions in between learning it and finishing the full body planche that will require more hip mobility and range of motion and strength. So we'll be showing you a few exercises to mobilize the wrist, warm them up, as well as for the hips and glutes themselves. So stay tuned, check out the mobility exercises that we have for you for the planche. So the first major set of mobility exercises we'll be going into is for wrist preparation. You want to make sure the wrists are warmed up, they have good range of motion, they're stretched out before actually doing planches. So first thing we'll do is a bit of a myofascial release with the lacrosse ball. So Jeremy will show a variety of exercises and rolls with the ball. We have this in our other videos, but we're going to go more in depth in this one here. So again, he's just applying a little bit of pressure, opening and closing the wrist angle. He's not pushing too hard, right? It should just feel good. Maybe a 3 or 4 on the intensity scale, and just getting all around the forearms, right? The flexors and the extensors of the hand. So this is going to help bring blood to the area, going to help relax it and restore some range. All right, that's great. I'll move along to weight-bearing things. So getting into the quadruped position, just starting to apply some weight on top of the wrist. The more he leans forwards, the more his wrists are going to feel it. So it's just waking up the wrist to this kind of stress, and you start to lean further. You can start to lean with his hands out to the side and do circles, have them supinated, anything to just get the wrists ready for the work they're going to be going through and the range they'll be going through. All right, here's the supinated position. And then after he finishes this one up, this is a great stretch for the forearm. So keeping the palm flat, let's go ahead and do this one. Keeping the palm flat and just leaning back a little bit, and you'll feel a real big stretch in the forearm muscles in the front here. So, and you can see how much of a hyperextension his wrists are in. This is what I'm talking about for the planche. They need to be prepared to be in this kind of an angle. So that's great. We're also going to go into some strengthening exercises because they'll go hand in hand. So we'll first start off with wrist push-ups is what we call them. So you can have the palm facing upward, and we're going to close the fist to a neutral position here with the thumb wrapping around. And this is working extensors of the hand and making sure that you don't go so far down that you're hurting your wrist, right? You really just have to back off. You can lean back a little bit. You can lean forward more if you want to add more weight to it, but this is where you have to just use your judgment and just put on or take off as much weight as you can that's necessary. Okay, we'll do a flipped over one here. So we'll do these kind of wrist push-ups with the palm face down and simply just pushing from the forearm to raise the palm off the floor. And again, you gauge the intensity. This could be leaning forwards to add more weight to it. All right, it could also be done with straight legs in a straight arm plank position if you get stronger. Yep. And this is really key, important strengthening for the wrist. And we can also do this with the wrist turned out to the side. This is definitely a lot harder, and Jeremy is able to do this one. So wrist push-ups with the arms out to the side, excellent. And then we'll go one more. We'll do a fingertip set of push-ups here. So you can really just do plank holds or push-ups in this position to just work the stabilizers and the finger tendons of the hand and just strengthening the wrist. Right, so this is a great warm-up before you go into your planche training. But all around this was all wrist preparation and mobility for the planche, because like I said, if you're feeling a stretch while you lean into your planche, you've got to stretch them out more, the forearms. Maybe you're feeling a little bit of pain in the front of your hand, and that means it's too much stress. Maybe there's a lot of contact and you need to do some traction exercises and just kind of pull your wrist away from pull your hand away from your wrist a little bit, but so key to prepare your wrists before doing planche work. So that's the mobility for wrists. The next set of mobility exercises will revolve around the hips, and this will be more addressed for the progressions of the planche. And that's going to happen in maybe the half layup position where the hips are straight and your legs are bent, maybe a straddle planche. So more for that middle chunk of progressions of the planche where this is going to be more applicable, because the final full body planche will actually involve less hip mobility requirements than the progressions in between. So first thing we'll look at is a screening of the tall kneel position to see if the person can make just a straight hip angle. So Jeremy first needs to make sure there's a pelvic tilt, and that's kind of just an engagement of the lower abs. And can the person make a straight line with their hips, right? So if this doesn't look right, maybe his quads are tight or his hip flexors are tight. So Jeremy, show us a little bit of a pike in the hips here where you're leaning forwards more, right? You see how it's already a little bit of a bend in the hips. And again, maybe that's because the quads are tighter and you can't do it. So let's straighten it back out by sort of squeezing the glutes and just making a straight position, because this is one of the planche progression positions. If you can imagine, Jeremy just turned 90 degrees in the half layup planche position. Okay, so that's the first thing. Some stretches you could do, and that would be an engaged lunge, so putting one leg forwards and then pressing both hands on the knee. Again, using the pelvic tilt, so it's a little bit of that hollowing of the core, because the psoas muscles, the hip flexors, are attached to the spine and then inserted at the femur. So it's ideal to engage the core and then lean forward a little bit. You should feel a hip flexor stretch while doing this. You need the pelvic tilt because you'll be engaging those muscles in the planche itself. So this is exactly where you can use the stretch. And then Jeremy can also grab the back leg to stretch the quad a little bit more. All right, so facing forward, still using the pelvic tilt, engaging the abs, right? The psoas attached to the spine. So if you just relax and don't stretch them, you're not really stretching this properly for the planche. So that's perfectly good. Okay, so the next set of exercises will be revolving around the quadruped position, because we're going to be focusing on the lower half of the body and the hips. So Jeremy will get in and then try to mimic what we just did in the half layout position. So opening one leg up, bent behind you, open hips and straight. And really you're trying to see, again, can you make this a straight line? Is this holding you back? The quads, the hip flexors. So just playing around this position, holding it. You can also go to the straddle position out to the side. This requires a level of mobility, right? So you can start to bring that leg closer to the shoulder in a wide straddle. Yep, holding the leg up. So now we're venturing into this combination of active flexibility, right? This is not passive. He's got to actively lift his leg up, and that's perfectly good. So just trying to go and find these different positions, investigating, right? What's preventing you from being in the right position when it comes to a straddle planche or a half layup position. So it comes down to stretching the quads, the hip flexors, strengthening the glutes. So that's a really important subsection for mobility on hips in regards to your planche progressions. And then as you finish up and do a full body planche, you'll still need the pelvic tilt, still need a little bit of flexibility in the quads, but not as much as you would need in a straddle planche or the half layup position. So either way, these are really good exercises to put into your warm-up and your planche training. So that concludes our video on mobility for the planche. So make sure that you incorporate all of these exercises, especially the wrist preparation exercises. And these would also be perfectly good warm-ups. You can embed them in certain workouts that you're doing, but it should be a part of your regular training when doing planches. So take care of those wrists, make sure those hips are in good shape, and you'll be a good position for excellent planche work. Thanks for watching, guys. Hey movement athletes, real quick, if you want to get better with your calisthenics and bodyweight training exercises, we have an amazing free course on planches as well as other bodyweight training exercises. And this guide has the best tips, tricks, mistakes that you want to avoid, progressions, and more. So make sure that you subscribe to our channel, like, comment, hit the bell for notifications, and make sure that you share with others. We want to make sure that we know what you want to see from us, engage with us, comment, hear about your updates. But enjoy the free course, and thank you guys.